That's what it is. The Indiana Fever get a win today versus the Atlanta Dream, 99-82. Caitlin Clark with a near double-double, 12 points, 9 assists.
All right, let's cut through the noise. The headlines after the Fever Dream game were simple. Fever win. Clark nearly drops a double-double. But if you're here, you already know. The real story is never in the box score. Yes, the scoreboard read 99-82. But it didn't tell you how it happened. It didn't tell you this wasn't about genius coaching or flawless execution. No, this one was born out of a quiet, player-led rebellion. A mid-game mutiny where the team scrapped a failing system and placed their trust in one person. Caitlin Clark. I end this video, we're going to connect the dots from a single frustrated comment made by a veteran before tip-off to the on-court uprising that flipped the game. This wasn't just a win. It was a power shift. And we've got the evidence to prove it. See, the Fever came into this matchup battling inconsistency with frustration hanging thick in the air. After their last loss, head coach Stephanie White didn't hold back, saying she was disappointed in her team's lack of competitive fire. A brutal public call-out. But while the coach pointed fingers, one player pointed to a solution. Sophie Cunningham, the team's emotional engine, broke ranks. She went to the media with a warning: we're running out of time. It's going to light a fire under our butts, so hopefully you're going to see that energy shift tomorrow. Most dismissed it as cliche player speak. But if you read between the lines, it was something else. A declaration that the status quo was dead. Cunningham was telling the world, what we're doing isn't working, and tomorrow, something changes. She lit the match. The first half against Atlanta, that was the kindling. And it burned ugly. The Fever's official game plan, whatever it was, collapsed. The Dream, powered by a red-hot Jordan Canada, looked ready to run Indiana out of their own building.
Barrage by Jordan Canada, who had 26 points in the first half.
Let's put this in perspective. Jordan Canada, an 8.9 points per game career player, exploded for 26 points in just 2 quarters. She drained 6 threes. 6. The Fever's defensive scheme wasn't just cracked, it was shattered. They had no answer, no adjustments, and no spark. The competitive fire their coach had demanded, nowhere to be seen. Indiana looked flat, disjointed, and reactive. And when the halftime buzzer sounded, the scoreboard told the story loud and clear. Fever 40, Dream 45. They were down at home. Not because Atlanta was unstoppable, but because the Fever system had failed them. This is where the official narrative and the real story split. On the surface, just another halftime deficit. But in reality, this was rock bottom. This was Sophie Cunningham's warning being validated in real time. The coach's game plan had 20 full minutes to prove itself, and it collapsed at that point. The fire Cunningham promised wasn't going to come from a whiteboard adjustment. It wasn't going to be sparked by a timeout or a pep talk. It had to come from the players themselves, and that brings us to the moment everything changed. The halftime meeting that we don't have a transcript. We don't need one. The evidence is in the court. The Fever came out in the second half, playing not just harder, but differently. It looked like a decision had been made, a quiet pact inside that locker room. Ignore the status quo, abandon the broken system, and run through Caitlin Clark.
2 things very interesting in the second half. Number 1, they made sure Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. She became the creator of offense.
And that right there, that's the smoking gun. This wasn't some minor tactical adjustment. This was a philosophical shift. The players took control of the game, and the results were undeniable. A 59-point explosion in the second half. The Fever didn't just claw back into it. They flipped the script entirely, turning a halftime deficit into a blowout win. With Caitlin Clark running the show as the true floor general, the offense came alive. The box score says she finished with 9 assists, but the numbers barely scratched the surface. Clark was bending Atlanta's defense to her will, drawing attention, opening passing lanes, and creating wide-open looks for everyone around her. And the beneficiaries? Exactly the players who'd been waiting for this kind of freedom. Sophie Cunningham, the same player who lit the match before tip-off, erupted, drilling 4 huge threes on her way to a 16-point, 10-rebound double-double. Kelsey Mitchell, often neutralized in stagnant half-court sets, was suddenly unleashed, dropping a team-high 25 points with ease. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't luck. This was the very system the players had been hinting at for weeks. And if you remember the words spoken before this game, it all lines up.
Dantas, Aaliyah Boston, and Sophie Cunningham, who literally said, we need to play like with Caitlin. The way Caitlin plays, we need to adjust to Caitlin.
They didn't just say it before the game. In the second half, they finally did it. They made the adjustment themselves. Oh, let's put the question directly to you. Backhand index pointing right, do you think this was a conscious decision by the players in that locker room to wrestle control of the offense away from the coaching staff? Or was it just a spontaneous shift born out of desperation? Drop your theory in the comments, because the evidence points toward one conclusion. But here's the kicker, the change wasn't limited to offense. That new energy, that sense of purpose, spilled directly onto the defensive end. With the offense flowing, the Fever's defense transformed before our eyes. And who was leading that charge? The same player orchestrating everything on the other end, Caitlin Clark. She stepped up and took on the hottest hand in the building, Jordan Canada, the very player who torched Indiana for 26 points in the first half. What followed was one of the most stunning defensive turnarounds you'll ever see.
We had Caitlin Clark locking down Jordan Canada. Jordan Canada had 4 second-half points with Caitlin Clark guarding her.
From 26 points in the first half to just for the rest of the way, that's not a slowdown. That's a complete neutralization. And let's be clear, this wasn't some clever coaching switch. This was a player, Caitlin Clark, taking personal responsibility to erase the opponent's best weapon. That's not just defense, that's leadership in motion. And when your leader sets that kind of tone, the ripple effect is instant. Suddenly, rotations tightened. Closeouts got faster. Passing lanes were contested. The Dream, who looked unstoppable in the first half, suddenly looked hesitant, second-guessing every possession. The numbers tell the story better than any headline. Clark posted a plus 18 plus minus in the second half alone. The Fever recorded 27 assists on 35 made field goals, a jaw-dropping 77% assist rate. That is the statistical fingerprint of a team playing selfless, connected basketball. The very synergy this roster had been missing all season unlocked in real time. Possession by possession, you could feel it, the sense of inevitability. The Fever weren't just winning a game. They were rewriting the power structure of their season.
Once that started clicking, the Fever ran away with things. Sophie Cunningham was everywhere. Clark had it going with Aaliyah Boston again. Kelsey Mitchell was cooking. And all of a sudden, you look up and the Fever are lighting up the scoreboard.
That's exactly what it looks like when a team is finally allowed to play to its strengths. The evidence isn't circumstantial, it's overwhelming. The players spotted the flaw. They designed their own fix, and the transformation on both ends of the floor was undeniable. This wasn't luck. This was a case study in player empowerment, and now comes the uncomfortable question hanging over Indiana's front office. What does this mean for Coach Stephanie White? Because here's the reality. Fans have been restless. Social media threads, podcasts, and forums have been buzzing for weeks about whether her philosophy truly maximizes Caitlin Clark's generational talent. And after a game like this, a game where the winning formula came only when the players tossed the official system aside, that debate gets louder. How do you sell a return to the old blueprint? How does a coach reassert authority when her own roster just produced 24 minutes of undeniable proof that their way works better? The truth is, this win may have started a countdown clock on White's tenure. Because this wasn't just another regular season victory. This was a turning point. The moment a roster, ignited by a veteran's public challenge, seized control of its own destiny. They trusted Caitlin Clark not just as their point guard, but as their system. And in doing so, they didn't just beat Atlanta. They validated their instincts and sent a message. The future of the Fever runs through the players, not the playbook. So now it's your turn. Was this a one-time halftime rebellion born of frustration? Or have the players officially seized control of the team's identity going forward? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you value deep dive breakdowns like this, the kind that cut through the surface level headlines, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this with another narrative analyst in your circle because this discussion is just getting started.